Danny Flexon here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren here in your office. Frank, I'm sure you've had worse weeks. How have you been?
I'm recovering. Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, that was it. You know, the biggest event in Europe, boxing event in Europe, and it will never be topped at Wembley because you can't get more than 94,000 in there. So that's it. So we've sort of set the bar. And it was it's just a fabulous night. The whole thing came across really, really well. You know, I thought the atmosphere was brilliant. I thought, all the razzmatazz around it. I thought if you're going to do fireworks, then let's do them properly and not sparklers. And that's what we did, mate.
You've had obviously some big nights in your career. You said this would be the biggest because of the attendance in the build-up. As it transpired on the night, did it feel like the biggest moment, the biggest promotion of your career?
Yeah, I mean, I can go back to my early days, with Lenny McLean at the Rainbow Theatre in Islington, when he fought Roy Shaw, and I can remember that at the time was, that was my sort of baptism into promoting, and I can remember them putting having music to it and getting everybody going, bringing the fighters into doing, trying to do something different, and then you think to yourself, all those years later, 46 years later, there you are, 47 years later at Wembley, and doing at the National Stadium, putting on, for me, a fight that involved the best heavyweight of his generation. And I thought when I started out as well that you'd be in a position where you'd have a British heavyweight champions, as we've had over the last few years. Because when I first got involved, none of the heavyweights, they were good heavyweights, but none of them were ever going to win a world title.
Did anything happen on the night that didn't match your expectations? Were you disappointed with any elements of it?
No, not really. Look, we what was the disappointment? I mean, I was a bit disappointed that Anthony Kakachi's fight didn't work out, because that would have been a barnstormer. That was definitely a good fight on paper. I was disappointed for Echo Esserman, because at the end of the day, they done us a favour although they really, they jumped at the chance of fighting on the card. The fact were they were supposed to be fighting on Friday. So, guys at that weight, have got to make the weight. It's very difficult, and they, I'll thank them both for doing what they did. But I'm sure, it put a bit of a strain on it was a strain on both of them, having to make the weight so earlier rather than doing it the way they should do it, which would have been fighting in a few days' time. So, I do thank them. That I was a bit disappointed for those guys. I mean, it's great for them. It was a decent fight. It was very competitive, and obviously they got seen by a lot of people. But if that is a disappointment, that's about it. And I can't say, it was like, it's the end of the world, but that was about it. But, everything else was what it was. We spent a record amount of money getting the fight, and obviously we had to be very careful to make it work financially, because as everybody said going into that fight, we were going to do our brains, we were going to lose fortunes.
Presumably you didn't.
No, we come out on the right side of it, and we're happy with that. We're still waiting for some numbers coming, but I'm okay, and Queensbury have done okay out of it, so we're happy.
Now, you predicted 1.5 million UK pay-per-view buyers. You haven't got the final numbers yet, but I'm surely had some indications from BT or BT Sport Box Office. Are you going to look wise in this case?
I'm hoping we're gonna get to the numbers we want to be to make it work, and we'll see where it goes from there. But it takes a while. You get a small indication of numbers after a couple of days. Then obviously you got the rest coming on. But no, we're delighted. We're okay where we're at. Everybody's happy. Tyson's happy. I'm happy. I think Top Rank, who we works on in America, they're happy. So we're all good.
And one person who doesn't seem particularly happy is Dillian Whyte, of course, as you would expect from someone who's just lost a World Heavyweight title challenge, which he waited a very long time for. What do you make of some of his comments since the fight? It was particularly regarding the finish and the push after the uppercut.
Look, he got beat by the better man on the night. He never got in the fight. Because Tyson didn't allow him in the fight. Tyson boxed superbly. He works off his jab. He closed him down. He didn't let him get. He did not let him settle, and didn't let him get any momentum. And eventually, if you watch what happened, you could see he was fainting. He was just fainting with a jab and then letting the jab go, and he just got him square on. He more or less manoeuvred him into that position where he was standing square on, and caught him with a perfect punch, the uppercut, and he done what he had to do. He hit him with that punch. He was out as soon as that punch landed. He was out, and he was out on his feet. And Tyson could have done one or two things. He could have either put another one on him, which would have absolutely poleaxed him completely. He would not have got up, and he just. Basically, it's like he was falling towards him, and he just pushed him back like that, and that was it. But he was gone. He was gone, and you could see when he didn't bang his head when he went down. He landed down, and he's a brave guy. He got up, and he really, he got up and he staggered, and he couldn't. I mean, we all see what happened. He was out on his feet, and the referee did the right thing and stopped the fight, and that's it. It wasn't his night. But to talk about, what it was wrong and he needed a rematch. I mean, Dillian, it's forget about that stuff. It's never going to be a rematch, and you got beat by the better man on the night.
Now, as you say, there's never going to be a rematch. But would you work with Dillian Whyte again? We'll talk about Tyson's future in a minute.
Well, look, we've got a number of heavyweights that we look after, and there may be some fights there down the road with him. Yeah, well, provided we can work to. I mean, I hope to think he feels now that we treated him right, and I wish we did. He got paid on the Monday, so why wouldn't he? Sorry,
escrow.
He got paid. I told him he'd get paid. That money was there, and it was always there for him to be paid. And all those sort of arseholes who come out with all the stuff they come out with, they're just all the time. It's all this negativity, all the crap that they sort of bandy about. But he's been paid, and that's it. That deal's done. And if in the future there's a fight and we're interested, or he's interested, of course we'll talk.
A consummate professional performance from Tyson in the biggest stage of his career, typically impressive from him. In the immediate aftermath, he was sticking to his guns regarding retirement. There's a lot of money still on the table for him. I saw an interview you did recently where you said he's a bigger attraction now than Anthony Joshua. He can't walk away, can he?
I don't know what he's going to do, Dan. He's his own man, and I always say this: if somebody doesn't want to fight, then they shouldn't fight. And maybe at this moment in time, he doesn't want to. He's been in the gym constantly. It was a fantastic night for him and his family. It was brilliant, and he's back with them now. And once he gets off the high, it'll take him a week, 2 weeks to come down before he decides what he wants to do. I've spoken to him a couple of times. He's in a good place. Haven't always spoken about the fight, but nothing more than that. And he's I tell you, he's really, really, really over the moon with the response he got from the fans. I mean, it really meant a lot to him, and I'm pleased that they all came out for him, and they came out in style and supported him. And he's in a good place at the moment. So whatever he decides to do, he'll make up his mind in the future, and whatever he does decide to do, I certainly will support him, whatever it is. If he were to retire, would he come back? I think he would if he retired, and he would come back. But you know what? I'd prefer that if he was going to fight, that he would fight on now, because obviously he's at the peak of his powers. I wouldn't want him having 2 years or 3 years out of the ring and coming back. I think if you're going to fight when you're at your best. But that's his choice. That would be his choice.
How easy do you feel it would be to negotiate Fury against the winner of Usyk and Joshua's rematch?
Well, I don't think Usyk, if Tyson fights on, I don't think Usyk fight. If Usyk wins, I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. And I don't think for Joshua it'd be a problem. What else is Joshua? What's he going to do? I mean, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? It's a no-brainer. I mean, if Tyson wanted to fight on, and Joshua was to regain his title, why wouldn't we make that fight? And that fight would have to be made with us. There'd be no one in the middle, no nonsense. It'd be, if us sit down with Joshua's people, and if that's Matchroom, I don't know if that is or it isn't, but that's the only way the fight would get made if indeed Tyson wants to carry on.
And with Tyson himself, is it still the situation as it was before? You're the outside US promoter, so rest of the world, including the UK, and Top Rank still handle his business in the US?
That's correct.
And how long have those deals got to run, or is it, how many fights?
I'm not going to go into that, but it is that's the position now if Tyson decides he wants to carry on fighting.
We all hope he does, obviously.
Listen, I want him to, because I think I would really want to see him back in now. I just think the public really, and more importantly, the public want to see him back in the ring again. But that's going to be his choice.
How much does it mean to you personally, not just that it's the biggest event you've ever promoted, arguably, but just the fact that people have always written you off, especially in the last few years? You left Sky, you launched Box Nation, people say, oh, he can't do it there. You sustained Box Nation for a number of years, and it's still going on now. And now the link up with BT, which has just been renewed, which we'll talk about in a minute. A huge event. You've shown that Wembley Stadium can be sold out without Anthony Joshua. Is there a level of personal vindication?
No, because I've never gone away. I mean, I don't understand. Tyson's been with us for 4 years now. That journey started 4 years ago when him, myself, Robert Davis, his lawyer, and his pal Matthew, we went into BT. I mean, obviously I was at BT, and when we done our deal with him, I said to him what I wanted, what I expected, and I said to him, and I really do believe in Tyson. I do believe he will come back and be the biggest thing. And thankfully, it's happened. So I'm pleased from that perspective point of view. But we've not gone away. We've brought a lot of good fighters through, over the years. Lots and lots of good fighters. Some real good quality fighters. Nothing's changed. We put on some really good big and medium shows and small shows, because where the small shows are, and that's where the stars of the future comes from. Nothing's changed. I'm sick and tired of people saying about, well, not sick and tired. I mean, they can say what they like, but comebacks and all this. I've never been away. I still run the same shows every year. We've been constant. We're a constant in boxing. We've been doing it. We built boxing on ITV. We built boxing on Sky. Started the pay-per-view on Sky. We built boxing on Satanza, given their biggest ever audience. We built boxing on BT. Built it, and we just delivered the biggest ever gate in Europe, which will never be matched in this country unless somebody goes and builds a stadium that can get more people in. So that's it. It's just a testament to the resolve that not just me, but everybody around us who work with us, in Queensbury, like my kids, my family, people who've been with me some working with me for 30 odd years. And some would have been working longer had they been alive or not retired. That's a testament to what we do. Nothing's changed. For us, it's another day in the office, and we carry on doing what we got to do. No one beats us at developing talent or bringing talent through. Nobody. And everybody wrote off Tyson Fury. Everybody wrote him off. No one thought he was going to come back. No one. They didn't think he could do it again. And I genuinely believed he could. I knew he could. I looked in his eyes. And, one thing about being an old bastard is that you're around these guys and you can look at them and you get the feeling and you know. And you know about fighters and you know about how it is. And you know how the business works. I mean, a lot of people write about this sport and talk about this sport, but they don't understand how the business actually really does work. And I like to feel that if I don't know how it works now and don't, I haven't got any experience or any, an eye for a fighter or a boxer, then I'm never going to know at this age, am I? And I'm not bad at what I do. And again, I predicted that Tyson would stop him in 6 or 7 rounds. I knew he would stop him if his style was made for him. And as I say, we are boxing people. It's what we do. It's what I've been doing for a long, long time. We're going back to when I was a young kid watching my cousin Johnny Wall fight my late cousin when he turned professional. That's what we are. That's what I've done. We focused on boxing. I've done a lot of other things as well besides boxing, but the mainstay of what I do in my life has been boxing.
Now, before we move on from this historic show, just a few words, if you don't mind, on Nick Ball's performance. He seems to have made himself a star virtually overnight.
Wasn't that a great fight? But again, it always takes two to make a great fight, and Isaac Lowe was really, really brave. I mean, unbelievably brave. I thought he was gone after a couple of rounds. I mean, he gritted his teeth and come back, but I thought Nick, the old wrecking ball, and that's what he is. He came in, he was in that fight. I mean, he was throwing some really sensational punches, and he's got a great motor, great, really good engine, and he's an exciting little fighter. And he's obviously made a name for himself on the night. Everybody's talking about him, and I think he's going to go on to be something a little bit special.
Now let's talk about BT, who performed very well, I think, by all accounts last week with the shoulder program in the build-up. Not too much fluff in between fights as well on Saturday night, which was great to see. Got everything done in a good order. You've renewed your deal with them. Just tell us kind of the details of that. So how long it's for, and will it be a similar structured deal to the previous one?
It'll be the same as the previous one, and we've been talking about it for, we've been working on it for quite a while, and obviously with a big fight coming up, everything got a little bit pushed back. We've done it, so we got another 3 years on the existing deal, and I'm delighted about that. It's sort of. For me, and for everybody here, that we're in a position now we can keep on developing and bringing a talent through. And we've got some great fights coming up. A terrific fight that we look like we've got over the line, or we should have it over the line finally in the next day or so with Joyce and Joe Parker, the old two unordinary Joes. That's going to be a really good fight. I'm looking forward to that. It's a great fight, and obviously we got Derby coming up, which is a cracker. I mean, these are quality fights, big fights, and I'm looking forward to that. We've got Daniel Dubois on the Don King show in America against Trevor Bryant. So, our big guns are out there involved in good fights, and plus a lot of our other youngsters that we're guiding and moving into some really little tasty fights.
How crucial to the renewal of the deal, if at all, do you feel your relationship with Tyson Fury is? Because obviously he could retire officially tomorrow. Would that deal still be as strong and as, there's no contingency, I guess, to if Tyson does retire?
The deal doesn't revolve around pay-per-view fight. I mean, we've got the exclusive for pay-per-view on BT, but it doesn't revolve about that. The deal is about our normal fights, the normal subscription fights. That's what the deal is. That's what the deal is, and any pay-per-view things are a bonus.
And talking of pay-per-view, you mentioned Joyce Parker there, almost finalised now. Is that going to be on regular BT or will it be on BT Sport Box Office?
I'm not sure yet. We're just sorting out the numbers on there, and then we'll make our decision where it's going to be. But it's a good fight. It's good heavyweight, really good heavyweight fight.
Are you able to kind of vary the price points of BT box office events? Because obviously Fury was $24.95, as we're accustomed to seeing. But if you felt numbers added up in a way that you had to put Joyce Parker on box office, could it be a lesser price, like $14.99, $19.99, whatever?
Well, we don't determine I don't determine the price. That's determined by BT. But at the end of the day, is obviously in consultation with us. But at the end of the day, we will. It'll have to be a price that we feel that make the event work. Otherwise, we can't put them together. That's the be an end of it all. I mean, they've realised that now on DAZN. If you remember, DAZN, pay-per-view's dead. You're never going to see anymore. The Canelo fight's on pay-per-view in America, and that was that according to everybody was a dead model and wasn't going to work. And for me, that is how it has to be. Because otherwise it won't work. For the money, the expectation levels for the fighters at the top, what they expect to get paid, and they deserve, the only way you can make it work is pay-per-view. You're not going to make it work off a subscription.
Do you expect Joyce Parker to be a big seller on pay-per-view, though? And if not, will they have to kind of reduce their demands to an extent, or requests, if you like?
I think it'll do well. I mean, it is a good fight. Good fight sell. I mean, Parker's had quite a few fights over here, hasn't he? He's a known quantity. They know. I mean, he comes to fight, and both of these guys. All they do, they're not counter punchers or anything. They just march forward. So you're going to get a big. It's going to be a bang up, no doubt about that.
Does the winner get Tyson if he doesn't retire?
Well, if he wasn't to retire, obviously the fight he'd be looking at is unification. I would think, if he doesn't retire.
So what would happen? What's the carrot there for the winner of Joyce Parker? Is it to be kind of first in line for the ultimate undisputed belt?
One's Joyce is ranked number 1, and Joe Parker's ranked number 2. So the winner of that will become the mandatory challenger for that title. There be the manager at the moment would be the mandatory challenger to Usyk and Usyk and Joshua.
You're not far off controlling the heavyweight division. It's like Don King in the 90s, isn't it, or the late 80s?
I mean, look, we've worked hard. I mean, I don't just, our business is not just been about, let's grab a fighter, let's sign him up and then sling him in the deep end. It's about building. And that's what we do. We've built and we've manoeuvred and worked our guys into good positions. Joseph Parker, gets this thing done. He signed with us, and then, with Daniel, I fancy Daniel to beat Brian. We know anything can happen in heavyweight boxing, but if he does that, then he's the mandatory challenger, for the BA title. So we're in really good shape as far as the heavyweight's concerned, and we've got couple of good young heavyweights coming through as well. But we build fighters, same as we did with, we done with. With Anthony Yard. Look at the great position he is. He's the mandatory challenger to that big fight in June with Smith and Berbishev. So he's going to get the winner of that. He'll be out there. He's going out there, and we'll do that fight in the UK.
On Joyce Parker, any hint on date or venue at this stage?
It'll go on sometime in July. The problem, again, another problem we got is the availability of venues. Because of COVID and all the bands weren't touring and so forth, now all these venues, it's really difficult to get a date. And boxing, it's not like saying, right, I'm going to put an event on October the 10th or whatever it may be. You've got to have the event. Whereas a band touring, they just slot it all in, and it's very easy for them. We got to make sure that the fight is available. The fighters are available for dates. So sometimes it's a bit difficult, but it will definitely be on in July.
And most likely London?
Yeah.
And talking about Trevor Bryan against Daniel Dubois, Don King, as you said, won the purse bids. It's set up. It's got a date in America. I think it's South Florida they were talking about. How confident are you, given recent history, that the fight takes place as planned? Look,
he's put the money up. He's put the deposit in. It's got to take place. There's no ifs and buts about that. That's what he's done. He's won the purse bid, Don, and I'm sure he'll put it on. If he doesn't, then there'll be a problem.
If he doesn't, would the purse bids then revert back to the second highest bidder, which is you?
I believe if it doesn't go on, that they will pull Trevor out of it. The WBA, under the terms of the purse bids, they will pull him out.
And what would happen then? Would Daniel get to face someone else for the vacant belt?
Yeah.
Okay, good stuff. What's your relationship like currently with Bob Arum? Because I know there was a dispute between the two of you over that subject.
There was no dispute about it. It was the fact was that, he made statements which I had to correct. I was unaware of those payments that were made on behalf of. I was unaware of the payments that were made on behalf of Top Rank. We were unaware of them. Tyson was unaware of them, and that's I'll put that right. And the other thing I wanted to put right was that there was no involvement from Daniel Kinahan in the Wembley show, nor, as what was being said, would anyone try to lean on me or try to get involved in the show. That just did not happen.
Have you spoken to Bob since?
Yeah, I spoke to him last night.
All friends?
Yeah, I ain't got no problem. It is what it is. But I just like the record being correct on that, and that's what happened. And as I say, from my perspective, it's a shame all that stuff was going on around the fight, and a lot of things have been said. It was dealt with. Everything Tyson. Regarding that position, Tyson dealt with that after the workout. He sat with a number of players, and some of the journalists reported what was correctly said. Some journalists weren't even there and were writing things that were not right and were untrue. He dealt with it there.
Were you a bit disappointed by that, the fact that it did kind of explode during fight week? I wouldn't say it overshadowed it, because it was still a mega event.
Some people had an agenda. A couple of journalists had an agenda. They weren't interested in the fight. they're still not interested in the fight. They keep banging on about something, but it's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with Queensberry, and it was nothing to do with Tyson, and that's it. And we get on with our business and do our business, and what other people do is their business.
On a more light-hearted note, your old friend and rival, Barry Hearn, has his autobiography published shortly. I'm interviewing him tomorrow about that. Will you be picking up a copy?
Well, she should be sending me one. I'll see. I'm sure I'm not going to rush to the bookstore for it. That's for sure. But
would you be interested to see kind of how he's viewed your rivalry over the years, like from his point of view? Because you obviously know what happened from yours.
I know what happened with him. I mean, I know he came into the sport many years ago with Terry Lawless as a promoter, and you go and get. You work for boxing news. Go and grab boxing news. We're coming into the sport. We don't want all this music. We don't want all this razzmatazz. We're going back to spit and sawdust. I remember all what he said at that time. Like what we were doing was something dreadful. This is how it's going to be. We're going back to the old days, and within like 3-4 shows, all the music was on, and as he's done with darts, and with all the other sports, all he did was took our model of what we did with boxing, with all the music and razzmatazz, and applied it to other sports, and he's done well at it, and he's done brilliantly with darts, and good luck to him.
You kind of made Barry Hearn, is what you seem to be saying, which means you also made Eddie. By effect.
No. I definitely no. Don't say that. I don't want no problems with Barry over that. I have nothing to do with that.
Not quite what I meant, but yeah, let's not go down that road.
No, I never. No. The apple didn't fall far from that tree with Barry.
Good stuff. Well, Frank, really appreciate your time. Great come off such a big event, and yeah, many more to come.
Well, fingers crossed. Next year's to the next 70 years.